One of the first things that an observant film viewer notices about movies is that they're made up of many scenes, shot from different camera positions and different angles. Filmmakers do sometimes let the camera roll while the actors perform, but this kind of scene is more the exception than the rule in movie making. In fact, breaking up the action on the screen into many scenes is one of the best tools that filmmakers have to create the magic and the excitement we feel when we watch movies. Film editing, or film cutting, is the process of connecting individual shots to create cohesive sequences and scenes that ultimately make up a movie. It sounds like a fairly simple, straightforward process, but actually, film cutting can be very intricate and complex, involving long-established editing techniques and conventions. Some film directors like to do their own editing, but most prefer to employ a professional editor who works with the raw film footage and selectively assembles shots into a rough cut of the film, which is then more closely edited and synchronized with the soundtrack to produce a final cut for exhibition. The film editor's two primary concerns are continuity, to provide continuous action where it is meant to be continuous in scenes, and to provide effective transitions between scenes or actions that take place at different times or in different locations. To maintain continuity, the editor needs to put shots in the proper order and match them up in such a way that the sequence of images will not only make sense to the viewer, but also help develop the story and arouse interest and emotions. To provide effective transitions, the editor has to help the audience bridge gaps across time and space in the story without confusing them. The scene from Alfred Hitchcock's Sabotage, 1936, is very suspenseful. It's full of dramatic tension, which is largely created by careful film editing. As you watch the scene, try to be aware of how the film editing makes you feel about the passage of time. In a famous film essay entitled Form and Content, Practice, Russian director Sergei Eisenstein closely analyzed the correlation of images and music in this scene from Alexander Nevsky. He actually graphed, shot by shot, the movement of the music and the viewer's eye movement through the scene. But we don't need that much technical detail to appreciate the tight correspondence between the music and the images in this scene, or to comprehend the audio-visual impression that Eisenstein wanted to create here. The scene is about a famous medieval battle where Russian soldiers defeated German invaders on a frozen lake. So there are two sets of images in the scene. One essentially static set for the Russians who are defending their homeland. The other set for the invading Germans, which is entirely kinetic. And there are basically two musical themes in Sergei Prokofiev's film score that correspond with the two armies. The German theme is aggressive and fast-paced, like they're charging cavalry. The Russian theme is solid, grounded, and steady, like the foot soldiers with lances who are braced for the German onslaught. Notice how Eisenstein matches the two sets of images and musical themes, and how he builds up emotional tension as the scene picks up momentum. The intensity level of the scene increases when the score introduces a chorus of male voices. As you watch and listen, pay attention to increasing pace of action within the frame, as well as the accelerating tempo and the pounding rhythm of the scene, both visually and musically. Some pointed dialogue about the Russian strategy from Alexander Nevsky sets up the final confrontation of the two armies.
Как ударит немец в буслая, не торопись, дай клину увяз. А потом с двух сторон разом и ударим.
The Russians' musical theme emerges strong and clear again, as the swaying of their lances suggests the tension before the battle. As the climax of the scene approaches, the flow of images changes from left-right movement to a head-on attack on the Russian soldiers, who lower their lances to meet the charging Germans. When the two armies finally clash, the music abruptly ends and the battle noises close out the scene. Now we understand that Prokofiev's score was not meant to dramatize the battle itself, but rather the anticipation of it.